right, welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron. We're here for another week to talk about microcap stocks because what else am I going to talk about? This is what I love to do. That's why I'm here every week. Although some weeks are better than other weeks. Right now, so far, for a Monday, not bad. Today wasn't bad. I'll take it. How about you? You have some stocks going up? Now, that's a hard one to say because I feel like, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but I feel like we've been in a bear market in microcap stocks for a little while, right? A few weeks, maybe a few months. Friday was good though, and Monday was good. So 2 days, we've strung together 2 good days, I feel like, in microcap stocks right now. As usual, I have a presentation for you. So feel free to sit in the comments, say hi, talk about different stocks, whatever you want to talk about. As usual, I'll go through my presentation. At the end of my presentation, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I'm trying to script my presentations a little bit. I'm trying to shorten them up too. I think last live stream I talked for about 45 minutes straight. Nobody really wants me to talk for 45 minutes straight. So I'm trying to shorten it up a little bit. This is kind of my agenda of some kind of stocks that I want to talk about today, so you're aware of them. And I think you're going to look at this list of stocks that I'm going to talk about today and go, what the hell is that? That's a whole bunch of stocks that I really don't want to talk about. Maybe there's one, maybe there's 2 in there that you like, that you want to talk about, but it's definitely, when I started making my list, I'm like, whoa, that is a weird looking list of stocks to talk about this week. Now, because I am going to talk about stocks, this is discussion, opinion. This is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. I don't know anything about you. This is how I invest, not how to invest. So if you're confused by any of this is not a solicitation to buy, sell, or hold any of these stocks. This is just me talking about, well, various things that I like talking about every week about microcap stocks. I need to move this up a little bit so you can see it. There we go. So my question right now is kind of, are we in a bull market or are we in a bear market? And I think the answer is both. And this kind of backs it up, right? The CNN Fear and Greed Index right now is on neutral, and that's very confusing. And I think that's fair. When I look at some of the stocks this week to show you, some are going up. I mean, depending on if I took a cross section of investors right now and each investor had 3 stocks, I'm pretty sure there's a few investors out there that would say we're absolutely in a bull market. I've been making a crazy amount of money. There'll be a few investors out there that'll be like, shit, Cameron, it's been bad for 6 months, dude. I have been losing money. And there's going to be a few investors in there that are kind of breaking even, right? That is the type of market that we have been in for a while. It's a little bit different than last year. Remember last year, right now is February. We hit a bottom in about April, and this was due to Donald Trump taking office in January, and then to the tariff wars and all the trade issues and supply issues and all that kind of stuff. So the fear was getting worse. Right now, it seems to be getting a little bit less, 44 and a 48. It's weird for me to say that because, this is based on the American index, right? And I'm Canadian, so I definitely have a bit more fear of CUSMA negotiation coming up this year than I think some other people will. So, I mean, if we went down to, remember, a fear factor of 3 last year, it was actually worse than COVID. COVID got down to a fear of 4. Right? They got down into extreme fear of 4. And during Donald Trump's tariff war there, it got down to an extreme fear of 3. So I am a little bit worried this year, especially for my Canadian investors, that this is being ignored a little bit, that this CUSMA renegotiation is coming up. And, that's something that I don't think enough people are talking about right now. I think the fear and greed index being neutral has to do with the fact people don't know which way interest rates are going to go. Of course, there are many other potential reasons. I think interest rates go down in the U.S. I think the appointment of Kevin, Warsh is going to do whatever Trump wants. Warsh would not have been hired by Trump if he wasn't going to do what Trump wants, which is to cut rates. So I do think that the rates go down in the United States in May, June, or whenever Warsh gets appointed. I think they might go down before then. I think eventually the U.S. Fed is going to cut the rates a little bit. And once the U.S. Fed does, then maybe Canada can as well. But yeah, I mean, the main thing from your post is, with other things is confusion. People don't know which way a lot of things are going to go, right? What's going to happen with USMCA/CUSMA coming up, right? I do not know. So it's definitely a very confusing time. When I look at some of the stocks, I think you'd agree with me here, right? Like, talk about gold. Look at gold. This was last week. This was this dip. Remember this? Gold just cratered. People selling, panic selling. I made a video on gold. People were like, Cameron, you made a video right at the top. You're crazy, man. I'm like, well, I try not to time my stuff, right? Like, gold has been going up. And so far, it's holding even above what I expected. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to model my stocks for $4,000 gold price. And if gold holds $4,500, that's going to be $500 above my model. I will be very happy. I will be a very smile on my face type of investor. And right now, gold is not holding $4,000 or even $4,500. Gold is holding $5,000. And we saw this quick fear spike down, and ever since then it's been recovering again. So this looks pretty good for me. If you notice, I made quite a few gold videos. We have a new section on my Substack that's been discussing all kinds of different metal stocks, and I'm very excited about that because I just don't see these metals, these commodities going down anytime soon. They seem to be holding price. And when these metals are holding price, typically what I am doing is looking for mispriced microcap stocks. The larger companies already have these higher gold prices already into their models. It's already projected. It's already built into the share price. But these tiny little microcap stocks, you could find some that are mispriced, at least in my opinion. That's what I'm doing. The Fear and Greed Index fell for a day last week. It was a good buying opportunity. Yeah, well, that was basically right here, right? That was amazing. I know some of the stocks that I'm most interested in right now fell on that day. And it's tough for me because I'll talk about it in this live stream, but essentially I wasn't looking to buy this dip so much. I've been preaching patience lately. I've been preaching patience. I've been very patient with my cash, and I've kind of been waiting for the next, table pounder, fantastic company that I just want to throw all my money into. Right now, I have not been able to find that. I had a thesis about commodities over a year ago. My buddies thought I was crazy. Well, congratulations. I hope you took your own advice. It always sucks when you have a thesis and it turns out you're right, but you didn't buy into your thesis. I have one of those today. I have one of those stocks today where I'm like, I saw this stock coming. I made a video on it. I knew it was going to be a banger. I did buy a position, but I only bought a very tiny position. I'm like, why, Cameron? Why didn't you do more, right? Sanuwave Health, right? Looking at a few of these stocks to kind of give you an idea of the confusion. You look at Sanuwave Health ever since end of August, start of September, straight down. And this is a good little company. It was, I think a little highly valued, honestly, my opinion, not financial advice. So, at first I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then it got a rally, but now it's back down again, right? And there's a lot of stocks out there. Like, I'm just not picking on Sanuwave Health. There's a lot of stocks out there that look like this, where it's basically been all downhill since about late August. Now, if you remember in 2025, again, this was kind of our bottom. This was the bottom of like the Trump tariff fears right here. And after that, we went on a bull run. And so a lot of stocks out there look like Sanuwave Health, where May, June, July, and even part of August was a really good market. And then there's a lot of stocks out there that have been downhill ever since late August, early September, right? Let's see. Trump was bragging about having the most gold, and what happened? Now he's loading up on oil. Yeah, a lot of people talking about oil right now for sure. And it's up to what? $65 from it went to a low of around $52. So people are already up, $13 on oil. It's definitely something to look at. This is another one here, right? ADF Group kind of backs up this theory where here was the Trump tariff lows in 2025. Here was kind of this high in late August, early September. And then it was downhill ever since until recently. And this is the hard part again, the confusion. Are we in a bull market or are we in a bear market? I would look at this chart and say that, well, it looks like we're in a bull market because ADF Group has gone from like, $6 here. I think it was $6.50 or something at their low at one point to almost 10. And that looks absolutely fantastic. But the thing is that I would argue, if this was truly a bull market, I do feel like, ADF Group should be somewhere between that like $10 and $12 price range, not the $8 and $9 it's kind of been bouncing around down here, right? So it is good work by ADF Group. They have been doing very well. Their share price has been recovering. But again, the argument of are we in a bull market or are we in a bear market? It's kind of a little bit unclear, right? Intermap, another one. And it's amazing how many of those there are, right? So this was late August, September, where the other two stocks were going down. Intermap made it a little further into kind of late September. And ever since then, it's kind of been straight down and you wonder where it's going to end up, right? So just a few examples of some of the stocks I've been looking at, trying to make my decision, right? Are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? What's happening right now? And we're in a volatile market. That's what we're in, right? It depends on what stock you're in. I could show you some stocks, prices of stocks that are going up, but it's interesting to me right now that most of the stocks that are going up are kind of the more pre-revenue stocks. Liberty Stream Technologies, Shield Care, Paragon Advanced Labs, Alula Composites, like a lot of the big winners recently still are some of these pre-revenue stocks. So pretty much all markets around the world are in a bull market except American markets, maybe not the Dow though. Yeah, potentially. Trump's pretty proud of the Dow right now. So yeah. And yes, I bought a lot of Synovus at $24 and gold around 3,000 has helped the portfolio return a ton this year. Congratulations. Good work. Now, it's kind of been boring. What will change this? What will change this? And I try to help people. If you haven't used it, this app here, Quarter, get it on your smartphone. If you get it on your desktop, then you have to pay for it. It's fairly expensive for your average retail investor. But if you get it on your smartphone, your Samsungs, your iPhones, it's a free app. And this free app, you just plug in basically all your favorite companies. And this app does a fantastic job of actually giving you fairly accurate earning dates. They're not always perfect, but I find they're way more accurate than like a Yahoo Finance or Google Stocks or whatever. Like they do a pretty good job of getting some pretty close estimates on when these little microcap companies are going to release earnings. Some of them that have earnings calls, they will actually have the earnings call on this app. So you just go into Quarter right here, and not only will it tell you the dates, but you'll be able to actually listen to the earnings call and watch the slideshows. We have earnings coming up. So I've been talking about March and April. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this new earnings season. I'm more excited for Q1 than for Q4 because I'm looking forward to kind of 2026 getting back to normal right after all that trade war stuff in 2025. But Q4, I think, is still going to be some wobbly pops out there. But I think Q1 2026 could be a good quarter for a lot of different stocks out there. I am excited, though. But in saying that, a couple of the stocks that I have coming up, Legacy Education, I made a video on them, as well as D-Box Technologies. Right now, I've been making videos saying that patience is a form of action because I can't wait to see some of these microcap stocks report earnings. Help me make a decision on them. I feel like right now there's a lot of stocks out there. I do not have enough information on them. And when I don't have information, I find it hard to make decisions, right? This is typically my investing model. This is my favorite slide. I build a thesis, I buy a stock. It doesn't always have to be like, $100,000. Sometimes I just buy a small amount if I like the company, depending on how much research I put into it. And then I evaluate inputs. And based on those inputs, earnings, news, other stuff that comes in, other filings, I evaluate my thesis and then decide whether I want to buy, hold, trim, or sell. The thing is, I haven't been getting a lot of this, right? There really has not been a lot of inputs for a long time. So we've gone through kind of a lot of like late November, December, now January, just no information coming in. So I cannot wait until I finally get some more information to make some decisions here. Typically what I'm looking for, if you know my style, is I typically say, like, I am looking for that small business. You know, when I get new investors that come to me all the time, like, Cameron, what are you looking for? And I have videos of this in my Discord, right? But, you know, I'm looking at a company's revenue, and I'm always looking for what's trending, not necessarily a static shot, but is it trending up or is it trending down? I love the word trending, but like, how do they make their revenue? What direction is it trending? I look at their operating income, their net income, or EBITDA. Basically, are they profitable? And the quality of that profitability, and then their cash and their debt. Are they making cash? What's their risk of share dilution? Because that's always a problem in the microcap space. These are kind of the main things that I am looking for. And then, you know, what direction those things are trending in is pretty important to me. But basically, to try to not make it too complicated for people or for myself, right? Because you've been doing this for so long, you only have so much time. You've got family, you've got other things to do. I always say to people, if it's a business that you would like to buy, you would like to own as like a small business owner owning like 100% of it, if you sold everything you had in the world and you had $1 million and you could buy one business, what would that business be, right? If you're looking at a stock and you're like, well, that's not the business that I would like to own because it's not making enough cash to support my family, or if it's got too much debt and that could be risky, or maybe it's trending in a wrong direction, then you can look at that pretty simply and be like, well, shit, why would I buy shares of this company? Why would I own it in the stock market if I would not want to own it in real life? Too complicated, too difficult to understand, too much competition, like all the things. If you look at a small business and what type of business you would like to own yourself, 100% to support you and your family for the rest of your life. If you look at that business and you say, no, I wouldn't buy it for these reasons, then kind of why would you be buying it as a stock market share, right? Best advice you've given is to wait for earnings. It's been helpful in my investing journey. Rarely is there ever a rush. Yes, I have been preaching a lot of patience. That's my next slide, right? I think it fooled people. There was a time there in 2024 where if you bought ahead of earnings, and again, this is not financial advice. This is just my own investing journey, my own journal, talking about what I'm seeing, and I could be absolutely wrong. But it is amazing how in 2024, there seemed to be a time there where if you bought before earnings, it seemed like stocks were just shooting up 20% after earnings. And it's like every time you bought before earnings, you took that risk, you made that gamble, and you were making money. But other than that, 2022, 2023, 2025's back to normal. You know, a lot of these companies, man, you're playing a game of poker, and sometimes you've got a losing hand with some of these stocks where, you know, there's opportunities sometimes where you can not buy, you can go into earnings, see what the earnings are like, and then make your decision after. It's definitely an opportunity, right? And speaking of which, earnings coming up. Pretty exciting for some people, right? There's been a battle recently. Went up to just about $1. Went down to, I think this was 76 cents Canadian. Now it's back up to 87 cents. It's amazing how this looks like consolidating. When I zoom out, this just looks like normal consolidating. You could always tell when people are over invested, when they have too much money in a stock, when they start panicking on these tiny little movements, right? The stock goes from like 95 cents to like 75 cents and people are like absolutely panicked. And it's like, this just looks like normal consolidation to me, right? So D-Box has been doing very well, but there's definitely been a few highs here and maybe a few lows. What's going to happen into earnings? That's a big question. That's a big question. They have earnings coming up that I just showed you on D-Box. They've been doing a lot of good things right. There is a video out recently from Ribmont Microcap. So this is from Matthew Martin at the Ribmont Club, Ribmont, and good interview, great interview. I absolutely loved it. So go Google that if you're interested in D-Box. There's still a lot of intelligent people who think there's room for this stock to run. So go take a look and see if you agree with them. The other thing that I think people missed is that this was posted on Microcap Club, so it's public. I still don't know if it's if it's still going on or if it's canceled, but this was February 13th that Microcap Club has an interview with D-Box Technologies. So that's a lot of good, fantastic, large investors that are going to be getting another look at D-Box here pretty soon. And that could be potentially why we've been seeing quite a bit of buying recently, right? So every once in a while, you get some down days. We've had some fear days in the market, but overall, D-Box has been, people have been buying that dip, right? So it's been doing fairly well, holding up and consolidating. One of the reasons for that, obviously, this is a Cinemark Experience release, largest footprint of D-Box motion seats with more than 425 auditoriums, 70 planned installations in the next 16 months. This is definitely what we're looking for. I think we all kind of expect the recurring revenue to do okay for D-Box, just because of that Avatar movie was pretty popular, but how many seats can they install this quarter? That's going to be a big question. So D-Box coming up potentially here February 17th. We'll be looking forward to it. Right, what else do we have on the docket here? One of them is a company that I just recently covered, which is Legacy Education. Go take a look at my video. I will put down below in the pinned comment, if you're watching this later, a link to this video on Legacy Education. They have earnings coming up. This is one of those companies for me, not super sexy. Like, I don't really look at it and think like, oh, this is going to be a 10x stock. But again, companies that I'd like to own, like as a small business. This is an okay company that is a for-profit college. It's at an okay share price, right? Valuation isn't insane. Share price doing okay, and earnings have been going okay. They're profitable, right? They're making money, profitable and growing, okay looking company at an okay share price. That's typically something that I like. When I go to Ryan Telford's return drivers for 10x stocks charts, remember there's various ways to actually become a 10x stock. And it's never just, you can almost never become a 10x stock just on sales growth or just on profit margin growth or just on multiple expansion. Typically it takes all three, right? So sometimes you find these good stocks that are getting that sales growth, but they are able to squeeze out a bit more margin with leverage over time to increase their earnings. And then once they get those increased earnings, you get a few more eyeballs on the stock. And that's when you get institutional buying and multiple expansion. And that's exactly what we're looking for, right? So I kind of like this company. I'm kind of excited. They have earnings coming up. When is this? The 12th. So 2 or 3 days from now, right? So that's pretty good. AITX. This is an interesting one. I forgot to load my thumbnail, but I previously covered this stock, and it's amazing how many people said back in the day, it's got to be at a bottom. This was actually I think it was a 4-cent stock at one point. And here it was at 0.3 of a penny 1 year ago. Well, even a stock that was at 0.3 of a penny 1 year ago is down 85% since that time. So this is just a warning to people when you look at your stock and you're like, psh, can't possibly go any lower than that, can it? It can always go lower than that. And there's no greater example of this than Artificial Intelligence Technologies Solutions, AITX. I had a battle with these people online, and they just, it was devastating. They just called me crazy. What do I know? I don't know how to invest. This is the greatest company ever. It's going to $1. And here we are. It just keeps going down and down and down and down. Absolutely amazing. This is the stock I talked about earlier. So I made a video on Clean Tech Industries, and I bought a few shares, and that was way the hell down here. Now I'm just kicking myself. Sometimes, you have good advice and sometimes you don't listen to it, right? I made the video, basically 3 companies that have my interest right now. 2 of them have been doing very well. One of them has been doing very bad, but this is one of the ones that has been doing very well. I picked up like a 0.3% portfolio position or something tiny like that on clean tech industries. It's now up to about 0.6%. So yay me, but not exactly blowing the doors off right now financially, thanks to clean tech. But man, this was a nice looking stock. It's still a nice looking stock, up from 30 some cents now to 70 cents. We'll see where share price consolidates. That's after their very nice 2026 guidance. I'm not going to read through it all. Go take a look though. This is a company that's doing very well. Very kind of a clean tech green type of company that's still got a lot of common sense to it. It's not one of those like phony fake green companies that never seems to do anything. Speaking of green, how's your cannabis stock doing? Any of them? They're all doing shit, eh? Like Decibel, Oxley, Canara, man, they're all down. They're all down. One of the most successful cannabis stocks lately, up almost 27% in the year, and was up more than that at one point, because this was, I think, 19.5 cents Canadian that Simply Solventless Concentrates went to, is Hash. Is that a surprise to people? Probably, right? This thing went down to like 10.5 cents, went up to about 19.5 cents. Now it's at 16.5 cents today. I hope I get to stop talking about them for a while, right? They kind of had earnings, they had their problems, but the reason I keep bringing them up, they now have that public interview out with Small Cap Discoveries. Go take a look at that. If this stock recovers, it's probably going to be worth a significantly higher share price than 16 cents. But that's a big if, right? There's a lot of big ifs in there. It's they're trying to do a lot of things, especially with Humble Grow here. But you could see during the Small Cap Discoveries interview, people got pretty excited. People watched this interview and thought that there's, good things still coming for Hash, that it's not dead yet. And now it's been trickling down. So I do question whether there's opportunity here. I do have to say, though, watching the interview, I know a lot of people have asked my opinions. One of my main opinions from Hash is I do think they haven't got enough credit for the pivot that they've done. I was worried when this stock crashed from like 75 cents down to like 10 cents that they just wouldn't change anything. Sometimes you get those like stubborn companies that the thesis breaks and they just double down on the broken thesis. This was a M&A acquisition type company, and once their share price stopped, they've now pivoted into this like value creation, deep value play type stock. And they've really embraced it so far. So I don't know if it's going to work, but I have to give them credit for at least being able to pivot. Oh yes, they were more than 50 cents. They went up to $1. It was not that long ago that Hash was a $1 stock. I remember having competitions at one point where it was like, I had 3 stocks. Was it Zoomed, NTG, or Hash? And it was like, which one is going to hit $1 first? So Hash came pretty close. And now it went down to 10 cents. So absolutely obliterated. But it's all a matter of perception because it went from 10 cents to 20. So some people, some lucky people, probably made a double right there. And I know there's a few of you might not admit it, but I know there's a few of you who are trading Hash who bought it at 10.5 cents and sold it at 19.5 cents. Hydrate. Nurse. This slide doesn't look like it's on Hydrate though, Cam. It's on, Hims and Hers Health. Well, this was the biggest drama over the weekend. They dropped this February 6th, right? They dropped this 7th, 8th, 9th, so Friday. And I think it was late Friday. I didn't see it until after the market was closed. And it's basically the US Fed taking a more difficult look at the GLP-1 active pharmaceutical ingredients intended for use in non-FDA compounded drugs, which a lot of companies use, including Hydrate, right? And they specifically in this name Hims and Hers. So not great for Hims and Hers. It was down 19.85% after market. Or sorry, this says pre-market, but that was basically after close. It was down like 20%. It absolutely crashed. And we were all like, oh my gosh, this looks terrible. Like now, what's going to happen to hydrate? And we spent the weekend looking at it with a lot more intelligent people than me that know hydrate a lot better than I do, going through the chart and basically saying, like, it looks like hydrate comes out okay from this. Like, they already use GLPs that are prescribed by medical professionals. So it's not like they're just an online service without, basically somebody professional looking at you and prescribing the service. And we were like, okay, while this is bad for hims and hers, I don't know if this is really going to affect nurse hydrate. But at the same time, I don't always give the market credit for doing that research. I usually just expect the market to just crash, basically sell shares and ask questions later. So far, I mean, kudos to hydrate shareholders. No panicking. I mean, I'm surprised. No panicking. Typically, you get something like this, some type of event that creates a little bit of fear, and people are just like, I'm going to sell now, I'm going to figure it out later, and maybe I buy back. But in this case, share price actually held up, right? Now, in fairness to hims and hers, more drama. There's basically a lawsuit from Novo Nordisk. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm terrible. And then hims and hers firing back, saying this is, you're anti-American is basically the response. I love it. Never good, though, when a company is under a lawsuit, even though this probably won't affect hims and hers for quite a few years. I actually wonder if this won't push more people into the wonderful arms of hydrate moving forward, right? So hims and hers was down 19% today, down 42% year to date, and hydrate has been holding price. So congratulations. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, are we really doing that? Are we really buying GLP-1s directly from China at 1/10 the price? I hate to say it because I'd like to say, well, I wouldn't trust that until COVID hit and we found out that like almost all of our prescriptions are coming from China anyway. So why am I so concerned about buying prescriptions from China and not trusting that when basically that's what we're doing? Right? They just weren't telling us. Or we didn't ask any questions. That was maybe what's going on. Shield Care. I mean, look, I've had quite a few stocks go down recently, right? I do enjoy a nice video here where I get to celebrate some winners. There have been some winners recently. So, Shield Care is one of those. Fantastic timing on my part, right? Pat on the back. I didn't make a video here and you had to wait a long time, or here and you had to wait a long time, or here and you had to wait a long time. I made my video on Shield Care right here. The stock gave you a nice little dip to watch my video and buy a little bit cheaper, right? So you could have watched my video, done your own research, bought about 10 cents cheaper than even my video price when it was recorded. And since that time, it's just taken off. So congratulations, right? Really nice timing. You have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And this is definitely one of those times I was lucky. And of course, the reason for that, all these new announcements, the future is bright for this company. Shield Care announces Medicare and Medicaid services reimbursement, approval for companion power assist device, expanding a U.S. market access. So congratulations to Shield Care shareholders. Yeah, there we go. See, that's why a lot of people bought. I bought share the day they got Medicare approval. Everybody it's amazing sometimes in microcap stocks. And again, patience and watching and knowing what you're looking for, because everybody kind of knew that they were going to get that Medicare appointment or Medicare, Medicaid approval. But despite everybody kind of knowing that they were going to get it, there's still risk. And you could see that risk through the share price right here, is that even though there's probably a 90-some% chance they were going to get that approval, people still wait until they get that approval. And then even once they get that approval, there was that small opportunity right there where you can collect the information. And as long as you act fast, you still get in at a good price, and the stock is de-risked because it's got this. So that happens, fairly often, and I think it's definitely something to look at. So again, congratulations to Shield Care. This was the other company in my video, Windshield Care. It has not been doing as good. Now, right now it's down 61% in 1 year. The nice thing is I didn't make a video up here. I think I made a video here. It was at like $2.20, $2.25 or something on NextGel. I like this company. It's down to $1.29, right? And why? Well, earnings were pretty much flat. It is a very tiny company. This is like a $10 million market cap company, NextGel is. Here was their earnings and why their share price is down. Not really down earnings, just flat earnings like so many other companies that face some struggles in 2025. Everything is just kind of flat. I mean, gross margin was up a couple percentage points, but I mean, nothing fantastic. And a net loss. People were hoping, including me, that they would kind of narrow this net loss. They're not losing a lot of money right now, but they do need to show growth to finally become profitable. And so when they don't get growth, it's going to be harder for them to become profitable. That is the challenge. Now, is it really, $2 to $3 down to $1.29 challenging? Is that bad enough? Maybe. But I mean, they do have a growth mindset. This is not a company that's happy with this flatline growth. And, you have to wonder if this is an opportunity. But I will be looking forward to these earnings for NextGel coming up. I want them to prove the market wrong. I want them to start showing some growth again. And for this one, okay, I have to channel some Ian Castle here, who's always got a statement or an opinion or some advice, sometimes even when you don't want it, right? But in this case, I did. Whenever you want some advice, go to Ian Castle and just search. In X, you can go to his profile. Then there's the little search button and just search for the word you're looking for. This guy posts so much about microcap stocks. There's always something to read to give you motivation and not quit and just keep going, right? So to be right in the long term, you must be willing to look wrong in the short term. I hope so, because so far I'm looking wrong on NextGel. But then Ian Castle says stock performance is rarely linear. You sometimes have to hold on to a position for a few years before it goes up 300% in 6 months. It always looks easy in hindsight, but holding dead money is excruciating. Yes, thank you, sir. And few are willing to look wrong before they are right. Well, when I look wrong, I do it on YouTube and now on X. So it's even worse for me. It's not like I'm just sitting there and dead quiet by myself and nobody knows that I like this, stock that I bought at $2.25 and it's down to $1.29. Everybody sees that. So need to channel a little bit of Ian Castle here, and I hope they have some pretty good earnings coming up. They're doing a lot of things that I like. This spin-off here, I really like that spin-off. So go NextGel, and hopefully they prove me right in the next little while, right? High Tide. I think this is the last stock I'm going to cover today. It's interesting because not a stock that I like talking about too much, but I am kind of amazed, down 18-19% on 12 months. This is a cannabis retailer. They had another news release. They seem to have one or two of these every month where they're opening a new store. They are producing cash, and they're actually supported by some really intelligent investors here, right? So it's amazing to me. It's not very often that I see a stock that's supported by good, large, intelligent investors producing cash and executing on their business plan, and still their share price is doing nothing. Now, I know the issues are deeper than just the superficial that I'm talking about in this very quick live stream presentation. I'm not sure that I like their Germany expansion. I do think they need to pay attention to squeezing better margins out of their legacy Canadian business and focus more on that. There are a lot of reasons that share price is maybe not up, but I am surprised that it's actually down. So interesting to me. Definitely a company worth looking for if you're interested in some cannabis exposure without actually like buying a stock that has to produce cannabis. And that's it. If you want to talk about any of these stocks after these live streams, check out commonsenseinvesting.ca. It will take you to either my Substack or my Patreon. Both of those are an excellent service, but basically the point of either of those is taking you to my Discord, and in my Discord is where I am finding, researching, and presenting all these stocks before you ever see them on a public YouTube channel. All right, questions, concerns, comments. I'm done. That is my presentation. Let's see here. How's everybody doing on this Monday that actually had the stock market going up for a change? Right? It's you got to be happy when stocks are going up because you're making money, and you have to be happy when stocks are going down because it presents you with a good buying opportunity. That's the only way you're going to survive in microcap stocks, is when you're happy regardless of what the market does, right? Okay, we talked about all the fear and greed stuff. So yeah, it's neutral right now, which is interesting. We talked about commodities. Can I cover Glow Life updates analysis? Thanks. I don't have much to say about Glow Life other than I won't bring it up here because I won't be able to search it this quickly. What are they on? The CSE? They're on the CSE, right? So we'll go there. They still have how many? 20 million? Something like 20 million warrants that will be expiring in March. And then they have like another 5 million warrants that are expiring in May. So one of the issues with Glow Life Tech has been their warrant overhang. And the warrants are at 5 cents, right? So the reason that the share price never seems to get above 5 cents, except for very short times when people discover it, it pumps up to like 8, 9 cents. Oh my gosh, this is such an amazing company. And then warrants get executed and it goes back down to 5 cents. That's called a warrant overhang. That's what it is, right? You can't get a share price to go up above the warrants price unless something absolutely amazing happens until your warrants get executed. And this happens, you know, if there's only a few warrants, you won't really notice it. But in companies and stocks that have a shit pile of warrants, man, it's so pronounced. This is just an absolute drag on share price. And that's what's been happening with Glow Life Tech. So they released, what was it, 40 million warrants that already expired in late 2025, and they have a whole bunch coming up. Go check out their warrants. I think it's March 24th that they expire, and then I think May 9th. So March 24th, if this company can get rid of their warrants or have people execute their warrants and the company gets cash, and then they have good earnings, you might actually see share price go up for a change, right? If they can get to May and they get rid of all their warrants and they have more good earnings, then you could see share price go even higher if it's justified, right? At the same time, you have to keep in mind how high it will go. I know some people have been willing to pay 8 or 9, 10 cents for this stock. It does have to grow into its market cap still. So it's not just the warrant drag. I mean, it is sitting at about 4 to 5 times sales right now, Glow Life Tech. They're doing a lot of things good. They do have a lot of press releases with their expansion across, you know, here they're saying Manitoba, New Brunswick, you know, so they're doing everything right. It's just one of those stocks. You need to have patience. It is a tiny little, less than $10 million market cap company. You know, they have, I think, what was it, $2 million, $2.5 million of trailing 12-month revenue, something like that, right? 1.88 million trailing 12-month revenue. So they need a lot of growth in their future. But right now they're doing, I think, a lot of good things, and hopefully that'll pan out in the future. But it'll definitely help once they finish up their warrants, get rid of that warrant overhang, and then people will be able to take them a little bit more seriously, in my opinion. Markets could take a massive dip during Kuzma. I agree. I just don't think Trump wants a deal with everything he's saying. No, he doesn't want a deal. He wants tariffs. We all know that for sure. It's amazing to me, the whole Trump thing about, like, you know, we're a year into we're more than a year into Trump, and people almost like don't believe it still, or don't believe him still. Like, he tells us what he wants to do, and then we just pretend that he's crazy, and then he does exactly what he said he was going to do, and then everybody panics. Or he does this art of the deal thing that people are calling taco now, where he, you know, says he wants 100% tariffs, and then, you know, in the end, he gets 10% tariffs, and they're like, yeah, Trump backed down, but it's like, you had 0% tariffs. Right? He threatened 100 and you got 10, and now you're happy about it. It's like he got what he wanted, which is the 10% tariff. So that's how I see Kuzma working out. Is it gets thrown in the shredder, and we have this bad, dramatic battle on social media, and we end up with 10-15% tariffs or something like that, right? I think that's basically what he wants, and that's what he's going to try to get. Trump was bragging about having the most gold, and what happened? Now he's loading up on oil. Yep. Bought a lot of Synovus. That was that thesis that worked out well for you. Good work. What's on your thoughts on VLE? Nice microcap with a lot of catalysts. I don't know if I looked at this one. Let me check. VLE what? Valeura Energy. So I don't look at a lot of energy stocks. So I have a category in my Discord for people who like looking at energy stocks, and there are a lot of intelligent investors who do that for me, but this is not my favorite play. So I do not have an opinion on Valeura Energy. What do they actually do? So yeah, this is engages in exploration, development, and production of petroleum and natural gas in Thailand and Turkey. So there's the problem with some of these stocks for me, right? I have zero competency in this. I've never been to Thailand. I've never been to Turkey. And energy stocks, oil and gas is not my expertise, even though I worked near the industry. I did not work in the industry, so I never built up that full industry type competence to make me comfortable to invest in this space. But I think it is discussed on my Discord. I just don't personally have an opinion on that one. Sorry. I try not to anyway. I'm typically more of like a picks and shovels play. Like for oil and gas, I have McCoy Global, I have Enterprise Group. Those are a couple companies that don't make money directly off oil and gas. They're an alternative source where they provide, Enterprise Group provides like heating and lighting and now power solutions. And McCoy Global provides the, trying to forget now, the piping, right? The new piping technology with the software to back it up. Timber and oil are going to benefit the most from a tariff repeal. I don't think anything's helping timber right now. That industry is tough. Oil, that'd be nice. Yeah, maybe. I would argue it would be steel and aluminum, actually, just because they're at, 45% tariffs right now on Canadian steel. So if we end up with like a 10% tariff, it'd be like, oh, that's terrible. But that'd actually be like a 35% drop in tariffs on steel right now. So that's, I think, why ADF Group is going up right now. If you look at ADF Group with their steel, and they will say that tariffs don't impact them, but I don't think that's actually the truth 100% anyway. And I think that's why ADF Group has kind of been going up in share price recently, is like the closer we get a Kuzma negotiation, some of these stocks will actually benefit because they've already been facing like 40 to 50% tariffs. Where do you suggest we go for a very deep dive in a name silo? Well, I suggest you wait. I did reach out to Paul Andreola today, and we are talking about interview. So I am going to try to interview Paul Andreola, the CEO of Name Silo, on my channel. I haven't done an interview in a long time. I actually don't like doing interviews on my channel, mostly because this is a side hustle for me, this channel. And I don't know if you know, but interviews take an incredibly long amount of time to prepare. You have to have a very flexible schedule. People book something, people cancel, people move times, people expect, what's all the questions you're going to ask me. Then you got to edit the video. Interviews take it takes basically it's a full-time job for some people. So I don't do a lot of interviews, but I don't think it's fair to Small Cap Discoveries that, Small Cap Discoveries founder is Paul Andreola. He can't interview himself as the CEO of Name Silo. So I thought I'd reach out and offer that service up. And I look forward to getting Paul Andreola on my channel for an interview and learn more about Name Silo. Because I think to deep dive it, I think the first thing you have to do about Name Silo is understand it. Right? You need to understand all the different businesses. They just bought SewerView. They just bought Reach. What does that mean? What do those companies do? They just financed Shield Care. What does that look like? Why did you do that? There's a whole bunch of questions that I think people have about Name Silo that need to get answered that haven't been answered yet. So I look forward to that interview and, letting Paul talk to the market about what Name Silo is. A lot of good investors are loading up on D-Box right now. Absolutely. Best advice you've given is to wait for earnings. It's been helpful in my investing journey. Rarely is there ever a rush. Yeah, this is a space you really, if you're a panicked guy, if you have like a lot of anxiety, you can, I think anybody can make money in microcaps as long as you're honest to yourself about who you are and build an investing strategy around your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you're like one of your weaknesses is like panic selling or panic buying, you can build a strategy around that keeps you from making those mistakes. But I still see so many people do it, right? Like last week, we had that one down day in gold where gold went from like 5,600 to like $5,000 in one day. And everybody panic sold, right? And it's like, can't we just wait another day and see what happens? Nope, couldn't do that, right? It's amazing. But typically microcap stocks, you need to be a pretty chill personality. Otherwise you could find yourself in trouble, right? Let's see here. I've been looking at Canadian tech after the sell-off, mainly CVO. I don't know which one rings a bell, but there's so many tickers out there. Which one is CVO? Covio. That one rings a bell. I haven't looked at that one in a long time. That would be interesting someday. That's $592 million market cap company if I'm thinking about the right stock here, right? And yeah, you're right. Like we've had so many of these companies that, you know, look at that, just absolute cratering here in November. And then another crater here, probably thanks to Anthropic. Put a lot of fear with these SaaS companies that dropped here in February. Doesn't this remind you of DeepSeek? You remember DeepSeek last year when all of a sudden this Chinese company came out and said, basically all the American companies are full of shit. We just built this amazing AI model. It's as good or better than ChatGPT. And we did it on like 1/10 the money and 1/10 the chips. And they're lying to you. Like the AI build out is going to cost 1/10 of what you think it's going to cost. And it's like, oh my gosh, they built like this, you know, dollar store Chinese AI stock that's the best on the market. And like all the AI stocks crashed and NVIDIA crashed. NVIDIA went from like $140 to like $88 in a couple days, thanks to this DeepSeek fear. And then it came out like, shit, you know, that the really trustable Chinese company maybe wasn't so trustable in the end, and they were basically lying to everybody, and they used a whole shit pile of NVIDIA chips to build this AI, and then all of a sudden all the AI stocks just took off again. Is that what's going to happen with SaaS stocks right now? That's kind of my argument, right? The CEO of Anthropic comes out and he's like, all the SaaS stocks are going to be dead in 1 to 5 years. It got him a lot of publicity. A lot of people are out there right now downloading that Claude AI and basically like, oh my God, it's going to replace everything I do in 1 to 5 years. I need to own it. So it's worked well for them. It crashed a lot of SaaS stocks. I don't know if, you know, it's going to work out. I don't know if that's the honest truth, right? I have a feeling that SaaS stocks make a comeback. Cameron, about 2 years ago, about metals, you weren't interested then. 5,000 gold changes everyone's thesis. Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. And even myself, like, it's not like I've changed too much in that I own right now about 4 metal stocks in my portfolio. So out of about 25, 26 stocks, I own only 4 that are metals. But you can't look a gift horse in, I'm losing my ability to talk right now. You can't look a gift horse in the mouth and ignore it, right? Like one of the things as a microcap investor, when you see a trend, when you see tailwinds, when you see something going up, do you stick to what you know in this little boring space that's losing you money? Or do you say, hey, I can learn, I can go spend some time and look at this sector and see what I think. And if it's got a lot of bullish tailwinds, I will drag my portfolio along with that. Why not, right? And when you see that gold went from like nothing to all of a sudden rocketing up to $5,000 and holding that price, the first thing that goes into my head is like, I'm a microcap investor. When things like this happen, when gold goes from like $2,000 to $5,000 and all these stocks go up, I know there's going to be mispriced microcap stocks out there. Stocks that should be going up because of the price of gold going up, but they're not because of this reason or another reason or some other reason. And that's my job as a microcap, investor, to go find, explore, and research those reasons and figure out if they're valid or not. And sometimes you find some absolute fantastic stocks that way because they should be going up. They're not. There is a reason for that. However, that reason is about to be solved in 2 months. And once that inflection point hits, in theory, it's potentially going to go up like the rest of the sector. That is exactly the type of company I am looking for. So, like in the old days, I wasn't looking for metal stocks, but we had 5 years, 6 years, 7 years where the price of gold did nothing. So there just wasn't any gold stocks at the time that I could look at and be like, this is a 10x stock when gold is at like $1,000. It just doesn't work that way. But these stocks, man, when your all-in cost of gold is like, your production costs are like $1,700, $1,800, $1,900, and the price of gold is $5,000, all of a sudden the margins just look so beautiful, and the cash production is so beautiful that it's just absolutely, fantastic, right? Like for a microcap investor looking at the cash. When are the interviews with Paul Andreola coming out? Look, getting ahead of ourselves. I haven't even booked it yet. I just said we had an email and I made the offer, right? So I like Name Silo. I definitely want to get Name Silo a little bit more attention. And I've been starting discussions with Paul Andreola to try to get an interview done to help the market understand the company a little bit. So I have no idea. Give me a few weeks to a month, right? When are the earnings of Zoom coming out? I don't know. I didn't check that. Go check that app, Quarter. Get it on your phone. Type in Zoomed. That's the most accurate app that I have seen is Quarter on smartphones for iPhone or Samsungs. It's been pretty accurate so far and pretty impressive. Sunvi is setting themselves up for future success. Have you ever heard about them? Yeah, and I don't really like them, and I'll be happy to be wrong. It seems like almost every video, somebody's asking me about Sunvi. The problem is that this is a solar stock, and I'm sorry, I'm just not that bullish. Like when I'm looking at like tailwinds, and I look right now at like gold stocks and the tailwinds they have and how bullish that sector is right now. Oil stocks and the tailwinds they have and how bullish that sector is right now. And then I look at green energy, right? So most solar panels come from China, which Trump is fighting, right? And you have a president in the United States who doesn't like green energy. And I'm not super bullish on solar panels. I know I've had arguments with people about this in the past. I love it. If you put solar panels on like the tops of parking garages, like completely wasted space, and you want to put some solar panels there, go for it, buddy. Absolutely fantastic. But I do not understand. I know people personally, like people always say, well, that's all they're doing with solar panels. I know people personally that are getting paid to have fields of their farms covered in solar panels. Farms, productive farms that could be producing food, right? And they're not, because they're just covered with solar panels. And that's not something I support. I'm not bullish on the industry. And so far, I have been accurate in that. Right? When you look at what these green stocks, these green energy, solar energy stocks have done in the past, they just don't have a history of execution that really impresses me. And I really just struggle to see where the industry tailwinds are going to come from. So I wish them luck. And, I have passed on very successful stocks in the past, like Happy Belly Food Group. Congratulations to them. But I was not very keen on that company because of the very low margins of basically restaurants, right? Restaurants have very low margins. And so I was like, I don't know that I really like this company. I was wrong. Happy Belly Food Group has shot up to the sky. But right now I will be wrong on Sunvi, is that I don't really have a whole lot of interest in them. Yeah, so was this on ShareV. Trailing 12-month revenue, $1.5 million, market cap $35 million, ultra competitive niche play with conglomerates hoggling all the contracts, currently being pumped by Paul Andriola, and retail being used as exit liquidity. I doubt that. Name silo, that's completely incorrect. I think if you go check the filings, Name Silo, whose CEO is Paul Andriola, just invested more money into Shield Care. Right? Go check the financings. That's what's out there right now. Is Majestic Gold undervalued? Where's the price of gold going to go? Right? Where's the price of gold going to go? If gold hits $6,000 in 2026, there's just about every gold stock out there is going to be undervalued still, right? It's that just hasn't kept up. Let's see. Retail note, blah, 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 very expensive, blah, 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 an overvalued company, guys, don't be fooled. It looks pretty good to me. I made a video on it. It's pretty good. Another hype stock, why buy garbage companies like this? Looks like somebody's just trolling me. So how about I look at some other opinions here and make sure that this person is just doing that, basically slagging every company. That's awesome. You're a buyer at 3 cents. Good luck with that. We're all allowed our opinions and we're allowed to be wrong. So good luck. Name Silo is going to be an alternative oil and gas company, service company soon. Yeah, potentially. They're into everything right now. So SewerView has so much potential. I believe that Reach acquisition is a bolt-on to SewerView, and that will be better margins for SewerView. Mostly what I like about Name Silo when we do get to interview Paul Andriola is what the potential of SewerView is. So they have that domain business, which is fantastic, producing cash. But my problem with that was always like, how much growth is there going to be in this for how many years? But when you look at a company like SewerView, I'm pretty sure for the next decade or 2 decades, they could just keep pumping money into SewerView and having a good return on capital from that, right? So you found a massive amount of aluminum in Saskatchewan. There's everything in Saskatchewan, everything. The problem is, when are you ever going to get it out of the ground? Never, right? Not as long as we keep voting for the politicians we keep voting for, right? The amount of consultations needed, regulatory overburden, costs, time, permits, more permits, environmental assessments. We have fantastic discoveries. We have oil and gas in Alberta. We have all kinds of metals in Saskatchewan. We have the Ring of Fire in Ontario, and they just sit there. So I would love to see a day in Canada where we actually get stuff out of the ground. I think we've had 2 mines approved and actually firing up in Canada in 2026, but that's just replacement level because somewhere else there'll be 2 mines shutting down. So we need more mines. We need more. Never heard about Tesmic, but we need changes to get more stuff out of the ground. Otherwise, you know, that money's just sitting there. Still guilty of panic sell and FOMO buying. I keep getting caught on turbulent days like this, even though I got a plan. You got to try to get out of that. It's good you could recognize your own weakness, but you need to, you know, that is the point of self-reflecting and being like, what did I do right here? What did I do wrong here? How can I change that in the future? Why not address my comments and analysis instead of skipping? Again, I devalued, not trolling numbers, don't lie. Okay, because this is like less, this is not an analysis, right? There's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 words, right? It's like X. You know how people get into X battles? And I'm like, dude, there's no possible way that we can actually debate on X when you're only allowed like a certain number of characters in the actual thesis or in the post of an X post, right? So it's like battling with 2 sentences at a time. It doesn't work that way. So if you would present an analysis, then I would suggest you go get on Substack, right? It's free to get on Substack, and you can write articles on Substack and present an actual thesis, a full long thesis, providing your justifications and evidence and opinion based on the information that's out there. And so that's the best way to absolutely do it, not necessarily just with short comments on a live stream. And this is a company that a lot of good, intelligent investors are in right now. So I simply just don't agree with, some of the short comments here that you've made on the live stream. So that's just the way it goes. East Melanie, never heard of it. Easy Melanie. Oh, that's this person, yeah. Buy at 1 cent because EV equals $200,000 equals 0.1 times revenue minus 2.73 million. What? I can't. Again, it's the short. No idea what this means. So again, open a Substack, write your thesis on Substack, and get people to read that Substack. And if you're right, then people will follow you, and you'll get a growing audience, and you'll build like legitimacy, right? And you can go from there. That's the best way to do it. AFCC is a good dividend stock. Never heard of that. Apparently, Reach will bring the cost of sewer robots down 40%. I heard this from a source I cannot trust. Yeah, I don't know if it's 40%, but we'll ask Paul about that. Basically, I think Reach was the one producing the robots. So whatever profit they were making on those robots, maybe it was, 39, 40% gross margin. That will now be reduced because they don't need to make profits because they're owned now by Name Silo. It's all just one company. So that's kind of the way I think that is working out right now. Do we think AFCC dividends is sustainable though? I have no idea. Sorry, I don't know that company. I will write a Substack article and publish it why I will buy share at 1 cent to 3 cents max. Thanks for the suggestion. Good work. Congratulations. That's the great attitude I like to see. That's what more people should do. If you have opinions, go write a Substack article, go create a thread on X, get that out there. You build trust with people, and everybody needs to have an opinion. Like, I'm not saying that a negative opinion is wrong or bad. Basically, on all my chat platforms, I support opinions as long as they're valid, based in evidence, facts, pragmatic, right? That's basically what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of stocks that I thought were going to do well, and they did not do well. So the person who was disagreeing with me was right. And that's just the way investing goes. If you could be right 51% of the time in the stock market, you will be making money. It is more about investing strategy. It is about holding your winners and selling your losers, right? It's having those stop losses and limiting your capital loss on the stocks that you're wrong about and holding those winners for those larger returns, right? It's less about stock picking than people think, and it's more about your actual strategy. Have I ever heard of Fountain Asset Core? No, I've never heard of them ever. So I don't have time now because I'm 1 hour and 6 minutes in. This is going to be the end of my live stream because I'm losing my voice. Everybody's sick out there. I'm shocked that I haven't gotten sick yet, but I don't know. Seem to be losing my voice, so maybe I am. I'm done. Fantastic live stream. Really appreciate it. As always, you could be anywhere. You're here with me talking about microcap stocks, so you're crazy about them just like I am. Good luck out there. Hopefully the rest of the week goes the same as Friday and Monday have gone, which is pretty good. And hopefully this is the start of potentially a bit more of a bull market as we wait for more earnings coming out. Earnings coming out starting in February, more of them in March, even more in April. This is going to be fantastic. I am looking forward after this long drought with no information. One long drought with no information. All of a sudden we have earnings coming up. I absolutely love it. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'll have more live streams talking about it, and we'll highlight some of the companies with earnings coming up that, potentially we should be watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you as well. Have a great week. Good luck out there.